Thank you. And hello, this is Dr. Victoria Terry, and I want to welcome you to All Things Natural. Today's topic is we're ill because we are not knowledgeable. You see, illness is not normal, yet it has become the norm. Most of us have no idea what wellness feels like. Illness is simply referred to as a loss of energy, or put it another way, illness is the first day we begin using more energy than we are obtaining from the foods we eat during any given day. Basically, we're using our reserve energy. You see, once we start pulling energy from our reserves, which is the first actual day that illness begins on a biochemical platform, our body gives us signs and symptoms that something's off balance. Not realizing that this is our body's way of communication, we put a Band-Aid on it, whether it be through prescriptions, over-the-counter, herbs, supplements, whatever it is that you go to take care of any problems that you start to feel, the pains or the aches, things like that. Unfortunately, we're not taught what illness truly is, and it just seems that things are just the way they are. As a matter of fact, we grow up, we grow old, and things begin to fade, and we are okay with that. Well, I'm not. And you shouldn't be either. Let's think about it a minute. In the biblical times, people lived to be hundreds of years old. Oh, I get it. We don't live in Bible times anymore. I get that. But the point I'm trying to make here is that we don't have to grow old so quickly, and our health doesn't have to fade away so abruptly. We continue to plug along each day, doing the same thing as we did the day before. And eventually, when using up our reserve energy for long periods of time, those results will show up in symptoms at first, and eventually illness and then disease. And later, if left unattended, our health status will become to a place I call point of no return, or PNR. Let's take a few minutes to understand what energy is. Usable energy and reserve energy. Usable energy is available energy. You can think of it as a bank account. It's what we have on hand, cash on hand. It's what's immediate to you. Where reserve energy is set aside when there's not enough usable energy or cash on hand, we can think of it as a reserve energy as a savings account. But in reality, health is nothing more than harmony and balance. It's emotional, it's what we think. Physical, that's our body chemistry. Spiritual, it's who we are within our faith boundaries. You see, harmony and balance is only as stable as the usable energy that we contain. Some of you also know this as homeostasis. Homeostasis is nothing more than stability and balance on a biochemical level. So, harmony, balance, homeostasis, whatever you want to call it, is simply the chemical process transformation at the cellular level within the body. It's what's happening. Okay? So let's take a few minutes to just talk about foods. Because our food, when we eat, we should be eating for energy. We only have two types of energy, usable and reserve. Which one do you want to be on? Most of us live in reserve energy, okay? But once we deplete the reserve energy, our savings account, we're at PNR, point of no return, basically death. Okay? So when choosing foods, instead of concerning ourselves with calories, food content, carbohydrate numbers, etc., we should be looking at foods by the energy it will provide. Now, you can't walk around with this huge old book under your arm at the grocery store, looking up every food item, trying to find out what vitamins, minerals, and the type of energy you're going to get out of that food. That's ludicrous. Okay? What we really need to be dealing with is just looking at real food, not processed, not canned, not just real fresh foods. Our diet should consist of 10% proteins, 10% fat, and 80% complex carbohydrates. Now, complex carbohydrates are found in foods such as peas, beans, whole grains, vegetables, things like that. When we limit our foods, we also limit our vitamin and mineral intake, and sooner or later we become deficient. You've heard of that word, deficient. A deficiency of any sorts weakens the liver and breaks down the immune system. That's why we're sick. United States of America is the sickest country in the world. There are studies, hundreds of them, on it. When a deficiency takes place, we know that we have run out of usable energy and we are now dipping into our reserves. Without the proper minerals, especially calciums, and by the way, there's 250,000 different calciums, and that's a whole nother podcast. I talk about calciums in the liver. I just wanted to interject that. So without the proper minerals, especially calciums, we're not able to get the energy needed for the body. You see, Calcium is one of the main minerals that the body needs, and it's the first one to be depleted. So how do we get the foods? How do we get foods high in minerals and vitamin content? Do we have to have all these weird kind of foods? No, we choose foods based on our personal body chemistry, especially pH. And pH is another podcast that I will talk about. So we don't limit the foods we eat. We put limits on minerals when we do. Diets. Diets are fads that are over time. We see the health results from, you may have lost 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, up to 100 pounds on any of these types of diets. Even meal skipping. Intermittent fasting that you hear about today. Those are all great things. If that's where your body chemistry is, that is where you'll lose. Because it's not a one-size-fit-all type of deal. This diet doesn't work for that person. This diet doesn't work for that person. Why do diets work for some and not others? Because of their body chemistry and where their pH is. That diet that they chose happened to be the right fit for them for that particular time. But what happens when you get to a plateau? Is it because you're plateauing? No, it's not because you're plateauing. It's because that diet's not working for you anymore. Because your body chemistry's changed. Your pH has changed. And you no longer need that diet. That protocol. What happens? We start putting the weight back on and even more. Here are a few simple questions to ask yourself when you're making decisions on your foods. Is the food choice an item that is heavily sprayed with dangerous chemicals and pesticides? When choosing meats, is it organic? Are they without vaccination, hormone injections? Is it grass-fed or grain-fed? We need to learn the variety of minerals that are in our foods, and those that have none we should put aside. Those are empty foods. They are dead foods. We need food that's going to give us energy. I'm aware of the extra costs that these types of foods place on any size family. Unfortunately, the food you choose for you and your growing family should not be where you make final costs. Because you're going to deal with those costs, whether it be at the cash register now or later on down the line in your health. We will deal with the cost. You see, it's not as much about the financial burden of the doctor visits, the hospital stays, the convalescings, later on in life. It's more of the quality of life. What type of quality do you want? Do you want to have the energy and the stamina to be able to move forward in your years, in your later years? Let me tell you a little story about Jack LaLanne. On his 76th birthday, Jack LaLanne himself was deemed the first Terminator. He is the epitome of good health. On his 76th birthday, he swam the ocean 2 miles. Well, that's not all he did. He towed 76 boats. As he swam the ocean 2 miles, those 76 boats represented one for each year of his life. Now, at 76 years, take a second to just look and think about how many 76-year-olds do you know that have that type of quality of life? As I stated earlier, using more energy than we are obtaining from the foods we eat during the day result in using up reserve energy. What do you choose? Which lifestyle are you going to choose? You see, because each day that the reserve energy is used, the closer we get to PNR, or the point of no return. I want to take a minute and talk to you about something called maximum insanity. Maximum insanity is just the merry-go-round effect. We feel like crud. So we make a few lifestyle changes, maybe exercise, diet, things like that. We start feeling really good, maybe even lose a few pounds here and there. And then slowly we bring in those old lifestyle habits again, and we are right back to the top. Just think of it as a merry-go-round. We're at the top, we make those changes, we start adding in old habits, and here we are at the top. And we do this again how many times throughout our lifetime? It's time to stop. We only wear down our overall health. We wear out our immune system by doing that. I want to take a few minutes before I end the podcast and talk about the liver. We understand that the brain is the control center for the entire body function. However, aside from the brain itself, there is no other organ in the entire human system that has more responsibility in the body than the liver. You see, the liver is the organ in the body that is responsible for making the primary amino acid structure for the entire body. This means organs, tissues, cells, glands. And if the liver's not functioning at optimum, and not getting all the things that it needs, there will be other organs, tissues, glands, cells that will suffer. So the bottom line is this: the health of the body is directly dependent upon the health of the liver. And since the liver is the organ responsible for the health of the body, it is of greatest importance when dealing with health and wellness. An imbalance shows up as symptoms, and it can be traced right back to the liver. And I'm going to talk about that at some other point. We're going to talk about a whole podcast just on liver. You see, the liver manufactures 4 to 6 billion enzymes every day for the different types of foods that these enzymes break down the foods for energy use. So if the liver is not fully mature until the ages between 18 and 22, we have a problem. Many children today have digestive issues. Now we know why. They come home from the hospital on medication right out of the nursery for acid reflux and other things. Today's generation of children are already using up reserve energies. Mom is on reserve energies, and that child in the womb cannot get anything different than what mom is giving. So our babies, our children, our generations are being born already living in reserves. Have you thought about the increase in numbers for children in hospitals such as St. Jude's, dealing with cancers of every type, or the children's hospitals across the United States that are filled with children of all ages dealing with diseases and illness of every kind? These numbers have increased significantly since the fast food industry, prepared foods, processed foods have become so prevalent. These industries have more than tripled in the last 2 decades, and I don't see the American health issue of today as a fluke or coincidence. It starts with our lifestyle. It starts in the womb. Are you ready to make the changes? I am. If you are ready, you can contact me through naturalhealthchicks.com. Go to the contact link, or you can email me at naturaldoc@gmail.com. That's NTRLDOC@gmail.com. And we'll get you started on a program that's going to help you take charge of your life. We're going to give you the knowledge and the information that you need so that you can take charge of your life and you can be in control, because knowledge is power. This is Dr. Victoria Terry with All Things Natural, and I want to thank you for joining me today. Until next time.